All right, to the executive committee, if you're here, please start taking your seats. We got 1 minute to get started. Special meetings must start on time. I think everyone agrees. All right, let's try to take our seats, please. Executive committee.
My guess is that once you got used to it, and I think it would take less than a week to get used to it, I think I would prefer this over.
Did somebody ask if that's AJ Ryan out there, if he can come in?
Yeah,
Josh, who?
it's bad.
Josh? Rydell?
He's here.
Hey. Come sit here. Where, anybody seen Henry Mead? He was here. Where is he?
He's here. Yeah.
Where? I need him. I need.
Coming in. He's walking in.
Okay. Okay, for him. All right, I'm going to call to order the come on, order. I'm going to call to session the executive committee meeting of February 13, 2026. If you would, please call the roll. We have music playing somewhere?
Yeah, let me
Okay.
get to see who's doing that. Mute all.
Thank you. All right, who's calling the roll?
I'm calling the roll.
Thank you.
Chair Ryan,
Present.
Vice Chair Furr.
Here.
Member Shuham. Member Horland. Member Mateo Bowen.
Here.
Member Dunn.
Here.
Member Rydell.
Member Shuham is here.
Okay, thank you. Member Mead.
Here.
Member Caggiano.
Present.
Member AJ Ryan.
Here.
Member Newton. Member Colborn. Member Murphy Solomone. Member Bright Cruz. Member Senator Geller. Member Bowman. Thank you.
Please stand for the pledge.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public comments. Anyone who signed up or wishes to speak, please come to the podium. Tammy? Make sure you put on the. Thank you.
Tammy Lettieri, Coconut Creek, Florida. Just like when the county ran through dump expansion and blocked us from speaking at the final commission meeting, they are now shutting us out of the process for the sludge dryer. They can tell us how they plan to transport highly flammable methane from the dryer, but refuse to. It's either by bomb train, bomb truck, or pipeline. So which is it? Either way, building a sludge dryer at Alpha 250, fueled by methane extracted from the dump, will turn Coconut Creek, Deerfield, and Pompano into a hellscape. Your preferred site for this highly combustible facility is in a densely populated area next to a school, alongside the turnpike, directly across from Tradewinds Park and the township, and up the road from Windmore and Centura Park. And you can implement food and yard waste composting here in Broward instead of hauling it to Okeechobee, where it may or may not be composted, since they're building another facility to capture methane from landfill gas. Food and yard waste composting at the Davie landfill or even on Blount Road at Alpha 250 would create jobs and cut waste by 29%, reducing our reliance on landfills and incinerators. Yet you reject this because, as Ryan said, we're not yet dedicated to it and just too stretched to address it. But you're not too stretched to build a sludge dryer or a biochar facility. We need an independent scientist not beholden to the county or solid waste to represent us, not politicians protecting their incumbency or a self-appointed arbiter of environmental science ramming through policies against our wishes that happen to benefit a handful of companies. Also, you have single waste plastic in that room in violation of the Broward County ordinance. Shame on you. You must lead by example.
Anybody else wish to speak on any matters before the Solid Waste Authority? Please raise your hand and come forward. Okay, I'll close public comment. All right, we have a number of issues to address this morning. Could I have a motion to move up the discussion on the executive director, item 5? Motion by member Rydell, seconded by member Coleman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you have before you a proposed amended and restated employment agreement with the executive director. As you may recall at the prior meeting, you had designated the vice chair to talk to Mr. Storti and try to figure out what to do. He's done that. He's had several meetings with him, and that I've been involved in some, and I've drafted a amended and restated employment agreement that incorporates what what the vice chair worked out. This has been reviewed by him and also be reviewed by Mr. Storti, and it is acceptable. Now, the good news is that Mr. Storti, although he had to go back to California, is willing and able to continue providing services through the, at least until August, probably until the end of the year. So it's just on a limited basis, not as many hours and not as much, he won't be here personally. So basically, you have it before you, based on what the agreement does, and this takes the place of the prior agreement. And what it does is, first, it sets forth the duties and what he will be doing. There's an exhibit attached, which is a scope of services. That scope of services is basically all the things that he will be doing. But he will remain as the executive director during this time period, just as a part-time employee instead of a full-time employee. You were also provided the change order for SCS and also a list of all the duties of Elisa, the administrative assistant. So you now have before you what each of the three of them will be doing. So basically the concept is that Mr. Storti will remain as executive director as a part-time employee. He'll spend some time. He won't be at the meetings. He'll try to attend some via virtual. SCS will take over some of the responsibilities, and Elisa will continue with responsibilities that she has. Mr. Storti would be compensated as a part-time employee at an amount of the equivalent of 100,000. I'm sorry, of 13,000 per month is the amount that he would be paid, and he would submit an invoice of that amount each month, and then the authority will also pay his share of FICA, et cetera. There's no holidays, there's no benefits, he will work remotely. There's no specific number of hours. He just has to do everything he needs to perform the services that he needs to do. The term continues until October 1 of 2026, and either side can terminate with notice. And that's basically the very straightforward agreement is what I would call it.
For the most part, I mean, I think it's going to get us through August with everybody knowing what each of us is going to be doing. I think, Daniel, you know what you're doing?
Generally, yes.
And that's why I'm going to ask. What do you think? Is there anything that you need specificity on?
No, it's really to be there to support the executive director, to be here physically, to be a presence, and to sort of maintain continuity, because as we all know, there's a lot of moving parts between now and the decision point in August, and it requires a presence here to help coordinate.
Right. And I was pretty insistent on making sure that SES would be able to be at the city commission meetings when it's going toward a vote. So that I think all of us, want the expert behind us, when we're talking to our city commissions. And when it comes that time where we're presenting, we are still not the experts. And I think it's important to have the experts behind us to help on that. In the day-to-day, obviously you need a firewall between SES and with all the financial contracts. That's why Todd's still doing what he's doing, as well as kind of coordinating those meetings and the city commission meetings. He will be reporting to all of us, not just chair, we all still have access to him, and he reports to all of us. Lisa, I just want to make sure everybody's clear on what their responsibilities and duties are. Okay.
Sorry, we just got the printout.
Because what I asked all three to make sure there's a distinction. So there's not an overlap, so there's no duplicity, no redundance. Well, it could be redundant, that's okay. But so these are being passed out here. And this is going through October, figuring that there's going to be some, it's got to get through August so we get it passed, but it doesn't have to go past that. October kind of helps wind things up. Okay. Okay. All right. Not everybody had it. So any questions on that?
before you get there.
Okay.
So the delineation of responsibilities has been provided as part of the backup to all the members. This is an additional copy, obviously. That's number one. Number two, it's important to ensure, Mr. Cole, that the financial issues are safely delineated and separated for the sign off. We can't have SCS. And are you comfortable that that is clear in the tasks and responsibilities as a part of the oversight, since we would expect the auditors to look at this as well?
Yes, that's all set forth in Exhibit 1 to the amended and restated employment agreement.
All right. The plan for, let's say, checks and the issues of oversight on that, with Mr. Storty being remote, what's the plan in that regard, either to the vice chair or to Mr. Cole?
He's still going to continue doing that, except for the checks to him, which the chair is going to be responsible for.
Okay. Lastly, and not lastly, because there's a lot to discuss here, but one issue just to put a pin in it, as Member Rydell and I think others have raised previously, as we get by this on a special meeting, we need to begin contemplating what it looks like to, if we get to yes, what it looks like come August, right? We're going to need a permanent executive director if we're established. It's virtually impossible at this point for us, I think, to recruit the most talented and those with the greatest vision who will commit long-term to this solid waste authority, where we haven't even been able to commit to the existence of it. So while I welcome that discussion as a matter of bandwidth for at least right now, until we perhaps get into April, when we have a better sense of where we're headed, I think it might be premature to start saying, let's get a recruiter or let's start pushing that out. But we should keep that in the back of our minds. And I know that we have the eternal optimist here today, Commissioner Geller, on how this will survive. So I want to make sure that I'm recognizing your optimism, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that you said, except the eternal optimist part.
It's my New Year's resolution to try to convert you to optimism, sir. Thank you. Member Horland, then Member Shuhan has her light on, so I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for moving the item up because I think it deserves some extended discussion. I have two questions for Attorney Cole, and then point of personal privilege. I'd like to, Siri's ready to quit me because I've been, as my personal assistant, been dictating some thoughts the last couple of days. I did put in the form of statement because I wanted to be precise and make sure it comes across in a positive light. So I'd appreciate your indulgence in that, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cole, a couple of things. The math is not working for me. So what I want to ask is, Mr. Storty's salary is $300,000 a year. To my estimation, at 4.5 months, we've already paid him $112,500. So where does the breakdown of the $200,000? Why are we looking at another $300,000 through the end of the year if our fiscal year started October 1st?
Right. Well, I didn't get involved in the business terms. The 13,333 is 100,000 divided by 7.5. That's where that came from. But I'll let the vice chair deal with the business aspect of it.
Okay.
It was just divided by, for the year, the total was just divided by 12 months and prorated.
Understood, but we're already into half February. So we've already paid out over 100,000. So I'm looking at a totality of 300,000, and that just is not adding up for me.
It's pro rata.
It's just prorated.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not 300,000.
Okay.
What's being budgeted is not 300,000. It
Okay.
is, you can see in the contract, it's a monthly, and I'm not taking a position
Okay.
one way or the other.
Okay.
It's a monthly that's been broken down so that it's not at 300,000.
Okay.
So that he's not going to exceed what his original contract was. If anything, I guess it'll go right through the end of October. So
Okay. And I apologize, that wasn't clear to me. And item under section 223, I do have concerns understanding Mr. Storty's responsibilities at home, that, and while Daniel will be here, that the executive director may attend all governing board and executive meetings by phone or telephone and not shall. Understanding he can't be here physically, but why would that not be a shall?
sure.
Any,
Given, like, today is a good example.
okay,
This was called very quickly.
Mhm.
He actually is with his dad today at the hospital.
okay.
So there's going to be, we're taking those things into consideration.
Thank you for those
That's kind of
answers.
what it is.
Can I maybe perhaps to Member Horland's point, perhaps an amendment will make all reasonable efforts to attend. Might be a better, rather than
Okay.
May, would that
That's
increase
fine.
the?
And
Yeah, that's right.
I can certainly make those changes. I don't think he's on, so he.
Yeah, he'll have to agree to it,
Okay.
but
I don't think. he'll
well,
be
I'd like to
involved.
go ahead and make my comments and that may decide, I'd like to put some things out and may decide how we go forward with the contract or may not. So, Mr. Chair, if I may. And again, I apologize that I've written it, but I want to be very concise on this. And I just want to say to my colleagues, we have made tremendous progress in bringing the Solid Waste Authority to where it stands today. That progress did not happen by accident. It happened because of the commitment around this table, your time, your expertise, your thoughtful debate, and your willingness to lean into a complex and at times very difficult issue. At the same time, I would be less than honest if I didn't acknowledge that many of us, myself included, feel a certain level of frustration about where we are at this moment. Not because we've not been doing good work, but quite the contrary. The frustration stems from the sheer magnitude of this task before us. What we are building is substantial. It is technical, it is operational, it is financial, and it requires trust across multiple jurisdictions. That is not small work. If we're going to succeed, and I do believe we will, Senator Geller, we must now clearly identify, follow, and adhere to a critical path, a disciplined roadmap that carries us through August, when we can confidently declare success in securing the approval of our existing members and ensuring the stable future for this authority we all care so much about. I want us to see the resignation of our executive director not as another obstacle to overcome, but as an opportunity to refocus our efforts. So what are the components, in my opinion, of that critical path? First, I feel after the last week that we must identify and retain an interim executive director, someone who can step in immediately and provide steady, experienced leadership. The authority needs operational stability and clear direction, and that leadership must be deliberative, credible, and capable of moving us forward without distraction. Second, we must complete any remaining work on the master plan. That document is foundational. It is not simply a report, it is the blueprint that supports our operational and financial future. Third, we must fully develop the financial modeling and supporting information that our member cities will require to make informed decisions. Our colleagues on city commissions and councils will not and should not rely on assumptions. They need clarity, they need transparency, and they need defensible data. Fourth, we must prepare a consistent, concise, and disciplined presentation for city commissions. The message must be unified, the facts must be clear, and we must equip our commissioners and council members with both the information and the confidence and the fortitude to vote to retain membership. Fifth, we must commit to the short game. Standing up an organization of this magnitude requires focus. There will always be long-time aspirations and enhancements, but right now our responsibility is to stabilize, operationalize, and secure membership, and we must stay on this track. And finally, timely communication is absolutely essential. In full compliance with sunshine and notice requirements, materials must be provided with adequate time for review. We've asked for this too many times in the past. We cannot do justice to the important decisions before us if we and our partners are rushed. Thoughtful governance requires preparation, and at this late stage in the game, we should not be continuing to request this. My colleagues, this is a pivotal moment, and we have the talent, we have the commitment, we have the shared belief that regional collaboration on solid waste is in the best interest of our communities. But belief alone is not enough. Discipline will carry us the rest of the way. If we stay focused on this critical path and we operate with urgency but not haste, I have every confidence that come August, we'll not only declare victory, but we'll have built a strong foundation for the long-time success of the Solid Waste Authority. I want to thank everyone for their leadership and their persistence and their partnership. But I think many of us walked out on Monday frustrated that we had spent an hour and a half on the wind down. And this is no one's to blame, but 10 minutes on the financial modeling. And my feeling is, and I've changed my feeling on this, Chair Ryan, that we need somebody to get us across the finish line. It's like a quarterback who knows the political landscape and who understands the municipal landscape and the governance and getting, as Member Ryan said the other day, having a team to go out to these commissions and councils as Commissioner Furr and Greg Ross did in the beginning to really present this in a unified manner. And I'm concerned that we have a lot of things going on But the goal is we've got to get this across the goal line. So, whether that means retaining Executive Director Storti or finding somebody who can navigate municipal government like a retired city manager, then I think at this point it's less operational and more administrative. So I appreciate the time, Chair,
Thank you.
and thank you.
Member Ryan.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I appreciate Mayor Horland's comments. And my biggest question when it comes to the executive director is, how are we so sure of his availability? Like, that's the biggest question. It seems like he's going to be a part-time employee. He's not even here to answer these questions for us that are critical. We're going over his contract, and I'd say this is one of his most important meetings. And from seeing, his reaction to the abrupt resignation, it seemed like Mr. Storti is unable to fulfill his time on the SWA. It's almost like we're kind of dragging him around with us. He said, I have to resign. I have to do it as soon as possible. I don't have time to perform this job. He directly told us that. And I understand that we need an executive director and we want to hold power on this authority. But like I said, I had a meeting with my city commission on Tuesday, and I had scheduled the director to come in and give us a presentation. And then the city said, oh, the director resigned. So that doesn't, like I said, it doesn't help us, in a power stance, I would say. And this board, we spent a long time to interview and hire an executive director. And very good point that you make, Chair. It's going to be impossible to do that with our timeline that we have. So I don't know. I'm worried about outside perception, and that's what this is. I understand that this executive board really understands what's going on in the presentation and how critical it is, and then it kind of drifts to the governing board. And then when it goes to our commissions, it's all on us to present it to them. So we need to understand how we're viewed as a board and how we're going to move forward with an executive director. And I'm not sure, Mr. Cole, on what other options we have instead of, kind of this dragging along type of option. But I would like to explore them with the board. And those are my biggest concerns. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. I have had a chance to talk to Director Storti, and things over in where he is, they're settling down a little bit. So he assures me that there's time to do what he has to do. I think your comments are excellent. And I think the idea of that discipline right now is of utmost importance. The idea that we would start to dilute that time, our time, with trying to find out somebody else seems to me like we can't afford that time. I think we've got the experts that we need. I think we know what needs to be done. We're as close, a week away almost, from getting some things passed to where we get ready to go to the city commissions. That's going to be in our wheelhouse, and I think it's going to be another road show, and it's going to be like that, and we're going to have everybody come with us. But that's going to be the most important part. Everything you said was exact. What needs to happen. Can't agree with you more. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure, and we'll have to hold Todd to the fire on that. Here's what you need to make, and we're going to have to tell him what we need, on a daily basis almost, just like we have, and as well as Daniel, SCS. So it's kind of I think it's on us to say, here's what we need and here's when we need it, and make sure that it's happening. But I don't want to be diluting, trying to figure out, do we go get somebody else in the meantime? That's going to take away a lot of time.
And I agree. If I just may clarify, Mr. Chair and Mr. Vice Chair, and I don't suggest that we go out, we've got to get to August.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm saying if there was there's plenty of retired, I made a list of my own city managers who understands municipal government and the political landscape. I think it's somebody that administratively needs to get us across the line. And that's what I'm suggesting. I know that would be a process, but it wouldn't be the process that we went through to get an executive director. And that's all I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Okay. Member Mateo Bone, Member Ryan, your card's still up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and I receive your comments, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you to my colleagues, Member Ryan and Member Horland. I'm in alignment with their concerns. I also want to say a thank you to Todd for bringing us thus far. So I don't want to dismiss his efforts and all of the work that he's done to bring us here. So I just want to open up the space in that lens. I will speak to how I left the meeting on Monday. I left with extreme anxiety because I have a commission who already doesn't understand or don't feel because we're a larger city, we're giving more buy-in in dollars. And how are we going to justify that to our residents come budget season when this falls apart, or we can't just really speak to the accolades and all of the progress we've made? When I shared that our executive director is now leaving, it was, okay, let's continue doing what we need to do. And I don't want this to fall apart. So I am bringing that aspect to this conversation because we have a lot of colleagues who don't understand why this is important. They don't understand why are we investing in this. And so I think for us to ensure that we're moving in the right direction, we need to really take a step back and reevaluate the capacity of Mr. Storti. Mr. Storti is in California. There is a time difference. There is so many things that I believe he will not be effective to do in California. We need someone who is readily available to have these conversations with city staff when they are concerned in person, or come to our city or see these sites in person. I am not comfortable moving forward with someone who is dealing with local issues that lives in another state. And so I in alignment with, we have great talent here in Broward County who understand our political landscape, who's been doing this work. For example, you mentioned, and that sparked a thought of retired city managers. Frank Babinek would be a great executive director in the work that he has been doing with dispatch, the work that he's been doing to align all of our cities on a local level. I think entertaining that direction would be great. My other concern is in regards to accountability. We have asked over and over again for a review. If we are moving into this direction from whomever, I want to make it very clear that we need to ensure that we're keeping folks accountable, really setting metrics, KPIs where we are, and we weren't able to do that with Todd Storti. I want to make sure that, and I don't want to speak on the behalf of my other colleagues, but I don't want to have another contractor, our contractor who's supposed to be delivering the work is reviewing the work. That doesn't make any sense. We need an independent entity to hold the structure together. And then I will end with this. The political landscape here is very unique. We understand that. And trash is a very messy conversation. And so I want to make sure that when we bring someone in, they're able to bypass those nuances and really get straight to making sure that we get to August. And with that, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair, I conclude my comments.
Thank you. Member Dunn, then Member Shuham, then Member Rideout, and then Member Mead, where I need to get to the side of the room.
I want to share how I felt leaving here on Monday. And the fact that I had to leave a little bit earlier than before you concluded perhaps didn't help, but I too was filled with some anxiety on Monday. The piece that felt like a red flag to me is when we heard that the financial modeling still isn't yet complete. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to meet with my city staff, and I have to tell you, from my perspective, that conversation didn't go very well. And, you know, I appreciate Mr. Storti, but he has a lot on his plate. And so even just the energy of being on the meeting, you could tell, right? Number one. And number two, I think having someone who really understands the political nuances of Broward County politics would have been really helpful yesterday. So I feel nervous for the first time, I must say.
Thank you, Member Shuham, then Member Rideout, and then Member Mead.
Well, I want to thank you both for the effort that you made to get us to today and say that sounds like it was a good thing I missed Monday's meeting. It's anxiety inducing. I did listen to part of Monday's meeting, and my reaction to that was to send to Jamie my thoughts, which was, I think, Member Horland, you used the term critical path. Critical path is something that we use in construction all the time. How do we get from point A to point B in the most direct, time-saving way? And that's what I sent you on a little, very mini scale. And my thought was, we don't leave here today without ensuring that there's going to be a draft that goes out with any remaining comments, that we give every member city until the 18th to give us any last minute feedback, not to be incorporated because we'd have to vote on it, but to at least have our council consider before the next meeting. And so really firm deadlines, because we don't have an executive director at this moment, we have to operate, in my opinion, by motion. So that's just what I walked away from the last meeting. Anxiety is a good word, but I think nervous. Like, we really need to crack down now and operate via critical path scheduling. I think that's just such a great analogy to use in this situation. I listened to my colleagues today, and I agree. I think that we have gotten so far in large part because of the hiring that we did with Todd and his focus on resiliency, recycling. He got us and we got him. And he transitioned what we thought was going to be an intensive capital investment to basically an inventory of existing sites and existing facilities, that now the whole thing has shifted to become, how do we maximize what we already have? And I think that in large part is due to Todd and also due to SCS. So, but now we're here. And it's a little bit harder to explain that we're not talking about building big facilities. That's what this facilities agreement was supposed to talk about. We've changed everything, in my opinion, for the better. And I think, I can't speak for the public here, but based on the people that come here repeatedly, I venture to say that they're very happy where we've ended up now as well. So where I see we are today, and this is not original, you all have just said that, we have some hard political meetings coming up, right? And there's also still technical explanations. And that's where I think keeping Todd on board will be helpful. But I don't think on this type of an agreement. I think he would be very helpful as a technical consultant. He can answer questions as needed, but what we need now is a quarterback to get us through, physically to be with us. And I know, Daniel, you will be, and you do understand South Florida, but Broward is different. But I think that we have to have a quarterback with us, meeting to meeting, so that they understand when they come to Hollywood, it's going to be very different than when they come to your meeting or your meeting. And who that person is, I don't know the gentleman that you're talking about. I've heard the name, but I think there are a lot of options. Our city manager is retiring too. So there are options out there, but to me, I think we have to be clear in dividing technical expertise at this point, which I attribute to Todd, and we need him absolutely to stick with us, but political quarterback. That's, I think, the fear that we're all feeling is like we're at the end of the line here. And to somebody to do what I walked away from the meeting, which is this has to happen by this day, no ifs, ands, or buts, and to make it happen. And I don't have any suggestion who that person is. I do agree that I think there are people out there that would, especially, you know, this is a chunk of change that we're talking about here. And I'm just going to say it because I have the mic now, but I was going to save it for later. I think for SCS, we have to be careful because you had a very large role already. Just because you're sitting there, I don't think we should pay more because before you were standing there. So I'm a little bit concerned about the ability to segregate what is what. And I think that is our fiduciary obligation to make sure that there's not an unintentional, and I know it would be, an unintentional double dipping. So somehow we have to make sure that these are new tasks. And the idea of you coming to all of these commission meetings, I always thought that was part of the plan. I mean, in my mind, you were coming. there, because that commission is going to have questions that the members of this board, they're not going to be able to answer. And now physically Todd won't be there. So you are going to be our technical person with us, but I thought that that was already the case. Thanks.
Member Rydell, then Member Mead.
Thank you. All of your comments are sound. I want to piggyback on some of them and make suggestions. Right. I don't think this agreement with Todd is sound and viable. I think Member Ryan really hit the nail on the head. And I hate to say it, when someone has a crisis, they make decisions. He had a crisis. I'm very sympathetic and empathetic to a crisis, but he made a decision that I have to leave right now. It's done. He should be in the warehouse as a consultant, a per diem, an annual, whatever you want to call it, an hourly consultant. That should be his role. End of story. Daniel shouldn't be sitting up here anymore. We should have somebody piggybacking it. I have a couple concerns with that. And the other thing, if these decisions aren't made candidly quick, it's going to all fall apart. And now the problem is, let's just say we all agree on Mr. Smith or Miss Smith can be the right person that can go to all these cities and really help us. We're going to look terrible going to the governing board, saying this and having a name in mind. It's just not a transparent process. So while we can all agree we may have the right person to do it, the right person may be here. The right person, I don't have that answer. But by us jamming it down everyone's throat, for lack of a better term, well, we lost the executive director, we want this person, we lose credibility with our governing board members, we lose credibility with our cities. And it has to be implemented correctly, succinctly, and surgically, candidly, of how we have whoever this person is. And then whoever this person is, if we're talking political landscape, we all don't get along outside of here. So the right person for this may be the right person in Central Broward, is the wrong person for North Broward, is the wrong person for South County. I know Frank, he'd be great. He's got no credibility in South County, and he's an expert in emergency management. And hopefully he's going to rebuild, Deerfield's police department, but that's neither here nor there. Stepped out of line there. But I say it because if this isn't done right, it will burn down in the decisions in this room. More importantly, Chair, to your point, we have a facilities amendment that we need to do, has to happen. And in the administrative side, Denise, I want to, Member Horland, I apologize. I just want to say this. You're right. We have been lacking on the administrative side for years, but that's not going to get fixed. And we can't fix that tomorrow because there's not staffing to do it. Think of the amount of staff that goes into putting together a city commission meeting for one meeting. We have two people prior to this working on it. So I just don't think, while we're getting it, I don't think there's a world we get it more with all the trying, right? I just don't. So it's an issue to me, and I want to address it. But you're right. The financial modeling, I agree with you. But I think, and I kind of just wanted to talk about because how you made your points. You're absolutely right with that. But I think we have the basic financial modeling that we're all going to need to sell. Slightly. Melissa, I feel slightly. I agree it's not complete, but I think it's changing the system for the better. I educated my commission on it. They liked it. It's a different type of building block than it's just me in my city. So I agree we all have those issues. I also don't want to diminish this room. The people in this room and the people on the governing board, but more particularly in this room, have the ability to go to other municipalities and have a voice with other elected officials. I promise you that. I promise each and every one of you have relationships in other cities with elected officials in other cities that you can have a conversation. So the work is kind of on us, the people in this room, to say, hey, I got a great relationship in this city where I know the member from this city maybe doesn't have the best relationship with their own colleagues. That's the key here. That's the spider web that needs to happen. And that's the people in this room. So that's kind of a workshop for us of breaking it up and targeting different cities and different things on a roadshow. That's the truth. The right people need to be going to the right cities with the right relationships and the right credibility. And I agree there needs to be somebody to quarterback that. That has to happen, right? And I'd be remiss to throw out a name, but I want to. I'm not going to. But how do you do that? So Jamie, I'm going to turn to Jamie now, Mr. Cole. How would our executive board hypothetically give somebody a month-to-month contract? Do we have the ability? A month-to-month contract.
Right. Under the interlocal agreement, the executive director is appointed and removed by the executive committee. So yes, you all do have the power to appoint an executive director. there's nothing in the ILA as to the length of term or anything like that. So you can set forth those terms however you want. It must be an employee, though. It cannot be a company. You need a person who's going to be an employee. That's in the ILA.
Consultant?
Has to be an employee.
It has to be an employee. I mean, so, that's, you can't just hire, SCS to be the executive director, for example. You need to have a person who will be an employee. Your executive director has various powers and responsibilities and duties like your executive director is the registered agent for the entity. So we just need a person. They need to be here. Beyond that, you have authority, you have the discretion, the ability to kind of frame it how you want. So yes, I do think you could appoint. So now when you say a month to month, I don't know what the term, we'd have to figure out what the terms would be. I mean, you can have it as an interim executive director until some date. You can certainly do that. You do have a lot of discretion. We did not limit you when we did the ILA.
So let me clarify to my colleagues why I say it is month to month. That is the only way we sell it successfully to the governing board and other people. If we walk in right now and we hand the executive directorship to a politician, because that's what we're talking here. We hand it to a politician, that will have reverberations. There's no way politically we're going to be able to get an expert ex-city manager in this time frame that's not going to want a buttoned-up contract, fiscally sound, and things of that nature. You're talking about somebody that cares about the work, that is willing to step in, and the only reason it would have to be month to month, and this is what I believe, is that gives that saying, I believe in it, I'm going to do a good job this first month, and it doesn't look like we're handing a political job to somebody, because that's the downfall. If they think, oh, we're giving you a 6-month contract for $200,000, we look terrible if we give that to an ex-politician. It's the truth. So I am all for finding that quarterback. I'm all for throwing out names. I don't know if this board could, and I think there's very few people that check those boxes to be able to put something together in the next 4 months.
All right, let's invite some of the comments from the other members. Member Mead, then Member Brightcrus.
Thank you, Chair. There's no doubt that Mr. Storti's leaving put us in a terrible bind. The timing is bad, probably never would be good, but I think it was especially bad now because of all the things that were pending. I've got several problems with this, and I pretty much agree with all the comments that have gone before. I appreciate them. What would happen? Mr. Storti is not going out to California to sit down and rest and relax. He's going to be looking for other work out there. And what happens if he finds something out there and he's already got retention? We're putting this back in the stew one more time again. And again, I can't picture him going out there and not looking for a full-time job. I think there's going to be some confusion. We've got the proposal before us, as I understand it, is to have Mr. Storti, the executive assistant, and Daniel's group kind of all working on the same thing, more or less, and different projects, maybe different parts of it. I don't think you can do that without confusion. I think what we need is a focused person, as Mr. Storti was, but somebody that we can all go to answer questions, to find resources, to look into different problems that we've got. And I think with the different processes that we're putting together, the different people that we're trying to combine, that may or may not work. I can see some confusion going on there. I'm going to make a proposal that we go back to where we were when we looked at, when we hired Mr. Storti. We had several people that we interviewed. The reason I'm going to suggest that is because we've got those names. There's zero money that we're going to spend. Chances are probably really slim that any one of them is going to be available. But again, with no monetary investment and with very little time investment, what really do we have to lose? There were several there that were from, or not several, but 2 or 3 that were from Miami-Dade. There's a possibility there. And I understand the timeline, but again, I think there's a possibility there that maybe something might happen. Regarding the transition phase here, I'm looking at it and I'm again wondering, some of these parts that Daniel's group is going to take over is, I think, probably already under the contract that we've got with him. And I don't mean to throw stones because I appreciate the job that he's done and with his team. But I think there probably is some duplication there with what we're already paying him for. So with that, I'll just conclude with we really do need to get out into the cities. We really do need to have city commissions enlightened, have them understand what the purpose of the SWA is, how we can affect what we want to do, and the importance of it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Member Brighters, Member Sham, your card's still up.
Thank you, Chair. You know, when I walked into this meeting this morning, I'll be honest with you all, I wasn't really happy with this, but I thought we could make it work. Listening to my colleagues here, you've changed my mind, so I appreciate the feedback on that. So here's my thoughts on it. I agree with most what everybody said, but this is what I would add to it, I guess, is I think actually if we approach this properly, I think we can actually turn this into an advantage, because for all the great things that Todd did, and I'm a huge supporter of Todd, when we get to this point where we have to sell it politically around the county, that was not going to be his strong point. He's from California. That was not going to be his strong point. He did a tremendous job, and I greatly appreciate him. But I think at this point, honestly, if we can find that right person, this transition could be positive for us. We do have issues with how this is going to be perceived, and I think we need to be very careful about that. I think the month-to-month is a good option, but here's what I think. I think that, you know, one of the concerns we had when we were talking about potentially replacing Todd with a new executive director was nobody's going to take this job because it's going to run out in, you know, it could just totally disappear in August. I think that actually, once again, can be a strong point, that the person that we're not hiring you to run this. What we're hiring you are your skills, your political expertise in Broward County to help us get across the finish line. And then frankly, it's done. You know, we'll find, assuming we move forward, we'll find an executive director to move there. But your job is to get us across the finish line, to be that quarterback politically, to guide us and to get us there. I think this can turn into a positive if we approach it right. I do have a question. So we're having these conversations. I know, Daniel, we had one, Southwest Ranches, great conversation, understanding where the ranches is as far as politically, whether, you know, we need to spend time there or not there. You're doing that with, I assume, all the ILA municipalities. Where are we on that? Because I think that is so critical that we get that completed, that we start to see feedback on that so that we can pick up on what Member Rydell said, that, you know, where we can start understanding where our expertise, that another municipality that maybe is not excited about moving forward with this, but we've got a great relationship with them personally, that we can go and visit there and kind of leverage that political capital that we've got with that individual. I really want to start hearing back on that. I know I've said a couple of times, I'm more than willing to go out to whatever municipality we can help out. And I'm sure you all are that way as well. But I need that feedback, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bright Cruz. That is something we have to talk about. I want to offer some comments before, but because I want to stay focused on the executive director, but irrespective of what we're doing, that, as we discussed at the last meeting, I need to see it graphically. I need to see what the plan is, what commissions, who's going. And then we've talked about this before, that all of us know we have strong relationships, but usually with our contiguous, but sometimes outside that.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to have to divide it up. We don't have enough time to do a one-year roadshow.
Right.
It's going to have to take the strengths, and in some cases, it's multiple going. So I just asked to put a pin in that so we can come back to that.
Okay.
Let me offer some comments.
Can I just?
I understand. Let me just offer some comments. I don't think there's any doubt how frustrated I was last meeting. We wasted an hour and 20 minutes on a fool's errand, on a wind down proposal that was a non-starter and would have, in my opinion, even if some supported, it was going to kill this deal. The idea of giving away infrastructure, land, and improvements to that land in perpetuity without paying the members who invested in it was a non-starter. And it should never have gotten that much, in my opinion, time. It took away from a discussion that was more important. That was the financial model. We rushed that. We had limited time. In addition, we didn't get an opportunity to really, and it may be that we hadn't all thought through fully what the implication of this transition is. But I'll take that and to Member Bright Cruz's point, and I know he wasn't trying to be entirely spiritual about it, but perhaps the universe delivered to us what we needed. And so I'd like to move on from the hand-wringing as to how we got here, as I know all the members do, and figure out what's the right plan forward. This plan in this agreement is not the right plan. Period. End of story. We need him. We do need an executive director by the ILA. We need, that could be hourly, doesn't, right, Mr. Cole? So I think that to the extent we need some of that transition expertise, because the expertise that we need is technical, it's political, and it's financial. And the financial is not just the modeling, it's the financial of the budgets within Broward County and the understanding of that process. And while not unique and different than what other municipalities across the nation face, there are dynamics from city to city that are different. And there are people who understand by mentioning a city's name, they know generally what the millage is. They know generally what the financial strains are. They know politically what's happening. And so to Member Bright Cruz's point, the universe has given us that opportunity. I don't know that month to month's the right answer. I think that may send maybe not the right message. We need somebody who's going to be committed all the way through August, at least, as opposed to they could, we have to every month try to decide, are we doing it? Because any member could bring it forward and say, I no longer want so-and-so. And we're back to the beginning. We need to figure out how do we do more than duct tape this. And the current plan, I think, has too much duplication with SCS. I think there's too much discomfort with the members to figuring out how that is happening. In part, it's because we're shoehorning this process that has been presented to us. I do believe that there are likely folks here in this county, retired or otherwise, who may be able to do it. But remember, this is going to take time. And it has to be, to the member's point, and I think Member Rydell pointed out, it has to be transparent. We can't just be like, oh, we've just sat down in one meeting. We're like, okay, let's go pick, former city manager X or Y. I'm not entirely so sure that the cross municipality issue is as big a deal. You watch city managers, if anything, they get along better than the electeds do across this county. Because the one thing they share is they all have electeds they have to deal with, right? So they have a shared pain, if you will. So I do think that's a potential, but if we are to follow a critical path process, we have to start with where we are at point zero. And that first point zero is either Mr. Story is going to agree to an hourly or he's not. If he's not, then we're going to be without an executive director. But we have to demand an hourly for transparency's sake. And that allows him to accommodate, and I take I don't have any exception. He's not on the phone here today. We scheduled this at the last minute, 1 week, and, he had a doctor's appointment for his dad. But we need to have, rather than just a monthly going out of a large number, an actual accounting of what that looks like. So to my colleagues, and what I would say is that this discussion, if the public was to look at it, they should walk away from it saying these folks are really committed to success. There hasn't been a comment here that was anything other than productive. It may have some slight nuances and differences, but it is all focused on how do we keep this together with the most likelihood of success. And so I think that the critical path moving forward begins with one, and frankly, it's unfortunate we're here, but how do we, Mr. Cole, get with Mr. Storti on an hourly, and what discussions were there to the vice chair? Then I have a couple of other questions.
I'll just say he had already agreed to an hourly before, so that's not going to be a problem.
Okay. So that ought to be the next step. And the delineation of responsibility, we're probably not going to hash it out in this meeting because it's complex, but SCS and somebody has to have a critical eye over it to say yes. So we come back to the executive committee next week saying these are what those lines of authority are. I do think that there was this general sense, and I'll let Daniel respond to it. I do think we had this kind of gestalt view that in going out to the cities, we were going to need SCS. There were going to be questions asked that were going to be needed. And if we didn't plan well enough for that, or we didn't provide the financial resources for it, and that's not duplicative, then let's address it now because it's a critical component going forward. I don't think there's any doubt about that. With respect to how do we move forward in bringing in an interim, I don't think it's that hard. I do not think we should go back to the list before. We're going to waste meeting after meeting, hour after hour, and we certainly can reach out to them. But even Miami-Dade County, again, to remember Bright Cruz's spiritual awakening that he's presented to us, we're being given the opportunity to find somebody who actually understands Broward County. And I think we should commit to that process as rapidly as possible with complete transparency, understanding if it's a former city manager, negotiation of a contract could be really excruciating. So I know that's what Member Rydell was trying to avoid with a month-to-month. We got to find a mix in that. The current contract with Mr. Storty is essentially a month-to-month. Either side can terminate at any time. And that's essentially maybe what the right answer is, as opposed to every month having to approve it or having somebody to approve it or taking the risk. We need somebody who's going to commit to the process of getting to every one of the cities, understands the dynamics, understands the political side of both the city managers and the elected officials. And I think it's easy enough for us to report that to the governing board that this is what we're committing to doing. It's showing that we are taking a dedicated, transparent approach to solving a problem that was not of our own making, but is an opportunity. And so what I would suggest when we come out of here is to have some consensus, if possible, on one, the issue of an hourly contract for Mr. Storty so that we are compliant with the ILA and we have an appropriate transition. Saying no right now is neither, it's not really possible. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I would hesitate here today for us to start throwing out names. I think there should be a potentially designated process for, and I hate to get, I don't want another change order from SES, right? But we know somebody's got to run herd on that. And it can't be Mr. Storty. And so it's either going to be a member on their own because of sunshine, working with Mr. Cole to try to pull together a list of names, or a process by which we move forward on that. Third, we need to get back to the financial model. The amount of time that we have wasted on the fool's errand last meeting, and this is not wasted time, but the time we're now dedicating to an emergency that's presented is taking away from the work that, you know, we really need to be doing. And then finally, we must have and we talked about it at the last meeting, we need graphically what the plan is for each of the commissions, who's made contact with, who's planning to go, what dates are going out, and then allowing the members to say, I'm okay, I can go to city so-and-so. I know those folks, I get along good with so-and-so, and I understand the dynamic. And I think we need to have a commitment today that by the next meeting, we're done. And then last, I want to put in some context where we are. We have the facilities amendment. It technically doesn't have to be approved till March 20th. That's when it goes out to the cities. We have rushed this meeting and we've rushed the TAC because we want comments as quickly as possible because we know there's no play in the joints. This has been a commitment of the members to recognize how important it is to try to stay on timeline, not to make rushed decisions, but rather to make sure we have enough time to make those decisions. And so when we go to the governing board, it just my view, and what we come out of here today, we need to get to the facility amendment. Are there any additions or comments that are being considered by the executive committee? Yes or no? And then we're going to finally vote on that recommendation on March 20th, but we should be prepared on next Friday to be able to tell the governing board, this is a final draft. You've received it, the tax received it. Here's a hard deadline for your responses to give us the time that if we need to schedule yet another special meeting, I leave open that there are incredibly smart people out there who may look at this and come up with new ideas that we must consider. We cannot do that on the 20th. We cannot be doing red lines on March 20th. Let me get the right month together on March 20th. So what we'll have to commit to doing is making sure we've gotten our comments, we've gotten with our staffs, that we've pulled those together. We're ready on February 20th to at least make a recommendation to the governing board for them to consider this as a final draft. They will have already had the opportunity. The TAC's already been given direction to get their comments. And then we have to be committed to a deadline for the governing board and the staff and for the potential for another special meeting. This body has worked incredibly hard, and we're not going to let this slip because we haven't considered every comment that we possibly can. Member Caggiano? And
real quick, when we're talking about the interim executive director, as I'm going to try and put it in a nutshell, we're talking about someone who has the time and the commitment, someone who can be transparent, someone who has the political knowledge to be able to work with the different cities in Broward County, a person who cares about this, and a person who's local. I kind of think that we may have somebody in this room who meets all those criterias, and we should consider that also.
Okay, thank you. Member Horland, let me just let the members finish and I'll come back to
And then please get to
Yes.
Senator Geller. I just wanted to offer myself up if you need a member to work with, Mr. Cole, on that. I'd be happy to do so since I opened the door today.
Yes, thank you. Member Geller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I, again, virtually everything you said, and I would respectfully disagree with Mr. Mead. I think that we should not be going back to the prior applicants. I don't know if you're looking for motion or anything, but what I would suggest is that when we look for somebody, they be from Broward, that they be either a retired city manager or someone that worked in city government, or retired county person, someone that has worked for the county, or a retired elected official, but somebody from Broward that has the requisite government experience, and not go back looking to the prior group. As everybody has said here, we need somebody that has the political expertise dealing with government. And I hope I can make that motion, or somebody else can make the motion, because we should be moving on. That's what we're looking for.
Thank you, Member Geller. The only exception I would take is I think it's got to be a city manager. I've listened to the TAC. The questions they have are different. They understand the dynamics of tipping fees, what it means for them, the mix of general fund subsidy versus passing through the apples and oranges issue, and what it means to individual residents, as well as the interaction with commercial. It's if we had another year and a half, I might agree with you, but this is that's why I said, when we're looking for financial, it's not just the modeling of this, it's the internal budgetary. And that's not just, hey, we approve the budget every August and September. This is coming out of this line item. This has this impact. When a city manager communicates to another city manager, this is how we're doing it. There's not a lot of education that's required. They kind of understand what that looks like. So that's the only exception I would take to that. Below that, could it be somebody in finance? Yes. But I think generally what we're talking about is probably a city manager type. And I could say county manager to the extent that that's important. But when it comes to the municipal budget, there's a very unique understanding that city managers have that even the county managers may not fully appreciate.
I would think that perhaps some of our retired mayors or finance officers may also have that knowledge.
I would hesitate to say no. I disagree with you on that. Just because I've already met with my city manager and the finance people, it's highly technical. Where the money comes from, how it moves, who's getting and the makeup of commercial on top of it, and how every city is a little different in that regard. That's the real key component, not what any one city did or understood, but how the budgetary differences are there. Member Rydell and then Member Shuham.
Thank you. I would also throw my name in the ring to work with Jamie in terms of finding a potential candidate as well. I've been dealing with waste far too long, and while it's not what I do legally, just with the city's history, with obviously its own issues, the landfill and things of that nature, my entire elected career has been dealing with various waste issues.
The only concern I have is sunshine. We need to move quickly. We
Agreed.
can't have
But let
meetings.
me say this, because this isn't the point. I just offer that to if the committee's interested. Just as a quick bullet point, I'm just wondering, right now, if you tell me the stars align, the plan is financial modeling, everything works, right? Right now, I can say comfortably, I've updated my commission every meeting we speak about it. I could comfortably say right now, my commission would support it. This isn't in violation of sunshine. I haven't polled the commission, but I believe that in my city. I've reiterated that to Daniel. I've talked to Mercury. I'm just curious, just if we can go down the line, Chair, I just want to know if people feel their cities would embrace it just in this room.
Can we just stick to the executive director issue right now? Okay, because I think that's a whole different discussion. And I'm
Okay.
gonna hesitate putting people in a difficult position. Also, I'm not sure what a no is in terms of productive amongst us as we sit here.
I think it's telling to the work that we have to do, but I respect you and how you run a meeting. So I will.
Thank you, Member Rydell. Appreciate that.
So on the executive director issue, I feel like we're fortunate to have Member Horland here. She's president of the Broward League of City. I think that to the extent that you sunshine a meeting, it's great, but I think it would be wonderful for her to work with Jamie initially, and then maybe when it gets down to it, you sunshine a meeting. I loved your suggestion of just like, let's divide the cities, like, let's just do it. And that's something we can start working on sooner rather than later. To get to the ILA initially, it was you and Mayor Greg Ross. So that's another option, is to do this internally. I personally don't know, if you're willing to go back out there again like you did.
I figured I'm already going out.
Okay, so I'm just saying, hypothetically, if we divided the cities, you're committing to go with each of us to the various cities. Daniel's there. I mean, can it be done that way? Could it be done that way? If the will of this board is to actually hire another person, I'm not really concerned about the month to month, because we're talking about 6 months. This is not a huge political favor that anybody's going to get. Like, we need your help for 6 months. We could have Commissioner Furr do it for free, or see, I'm learning. But yeah.
There's a motion. Is there a second on that?
But even if you went out and you found an ex-city manager or somebody like that, it's a 6-month gig. I don't think that this is going to be something that really would upset the governing board. I don't see that. So I would like to, I guess, first have this board determine whether we do need to hire somebody, or do we need a workshop, divide up the cities, get the commitment. What are the dates of these board meetings? What are the dates of the commission meetings, and just get it done?
I would say both. These are not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
I think it's absolutely critical. We are
All
at
right,
that
then-
last
then
stage. And the
I'm
only reason
gonna
I
make
offer
a
that, the
motion.
only reason I offer that is I've been to a lot of the TAC meetings. I've listened to how they speak about it, and I know we've spoken to it's a unique language.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that Member Horland work with,
Let's start first with the first part of the motion, which ought to deal with the executive director's contract, if I may offer this,
okay,
and the issue of going to an hourly or not, because I think that's a critical component for us figuring out what we're doing financially if we're going to backfill with a city manager type.
all right, so I want to make sure I'm understanding. That is converting an existing contract to an hourly basis. Is that
Mr. Cole.
Well, I think you have the agreement in front of you. We can make whatever changes you want. This is an amended and restated agreement. So up until today, he is still under his old contract.
Okay.
Getting paid the full amount
All right.
under his old contract.
All right, so number one, I would like to make a motion that we continue to retain our executive director, Todd Storty, on an hourly basis. And I guess that the question would remain, who is authorized to use the hours? No, who can call him and say, we need work?
Well, we should continue, all of us. I mean, I think to the extent there's expertise, you have to in this transition. That may fade, right? As you have, if the next part of your motion was to bring in somebody, then that person will start stepping into the breach,
Okay.
I would think, and you should see. But let's be clear where we are today. Because we extended, right? We thought we might be able to have an agreement by the 9th. That was his initial resignation date. We extended it in order to allow Vice Chair Mr. Cole to try to work through. We're now looking at this contract and we're saying, I think what the consensus is headed towards, and I don't know, is an hourly. So we still need to first extend his current contract to get that resolved and put that on a deadline, which I would suggest is the 20th for us to address. That is to have back an actual agreement we can work with on hourly, or to know we don't have that opportunity.
What's the current,
The current agreement, he makes $300,000 a year.
but
So
what's the end of the year? What's the end of the term?
it was in February, but it's terminable. I mean, we
Okay.
can, but if you, but we are paying him a very large amount of money each week. So we could change, you could approve, or this agreement you have in front of you, you could change it to an hourly, and he could continue as executive director until we have someone to take the place. There is a provision that he requested that gives him 30-day notice. So that's 13,
I know.
we would have to take that out.
You're
But if we could
splitting
take that
hairs
out
now.
and just have
Okay.
him, we could take the same agreement we have in front of us, change it to an hourly, which the hourly, you can tell us the number, it was his 300,000 divided by 2,080, whatever that number was. It was 14
Okay.
something, 140 something. And then we could take out the notice requirement, the 30 notice, and then we could just terminate any time. He would stay on as executive director, same duties, because we have to have an executive director. We
By
can't
the
just-
ILA.
But we can't just not have one.
But
So
it's terminable at the will of this board.
it is, but right now it requires 30 days notice.
Okay.
The wait.
All right, so my
We could take-
motion is to convert Executive Director Storty's compensation to an hourly rate prorated based on his current salary, and to allow, to modify the existing contract to be able to be terminated without 30 days notice.
Second.
How much? Yeah.
No, because he's
It's our.
he's billing us hourly, right?
All right, so there's motion and second discussion. Member Ryan, then member Mateo.
I don't want to have a discussion on this particular item.
Member Mateo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you please break down the math in regards to the salary? It's so his contract, I mean, we started a new fiscal year in February. So what would that mean moving forward? Like, we can break that down for me, October 1st, excuse me, break that down for me.
All right, well, he's been being paid monthly.
Okay.
If you take 300,000 divided by
What's that
12,
hourly?
it's not, well, he hasn't been being paid hourly.
Okay.
Well, if we start now, we say this is going to be hourly. If you take 300,000 divided by 2,080, which is basically 52 weeks, 40 hours a week, you'll get a number. I think it's 144. It's $144.
It's $144.
It's $144 an hour.
It's just math.
So a prior draft of this had it hourly, so we already have the provision drafted. So we can switch this back to hourly, which would be $144 an hour. And there's no,
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion?
Yes.
I'm sorry, member me.
Again, is this open-ended? Can all of us call and ask him questions? So it's
We
completely
need that in
open.
this transition. Let's just really, I don't want the members to either worry of the meter necessarily or the help. We need that in the interim. I would expect that will, again, begin to fade depending on what the next part of this process is. And I also think it's going to require some discussion with SES because Daniel's a great resource locally as well. So we need to look at that. Vice Chair.
Just real quick, if we do need any HR, rather than go into Jamie on this, Kevin has said he's done 25 years of HR, so he could help us out.
I was planning
We
on,
need HR.
well, right, if we need anything, I was planning on talking to Kevin. The county was extremely helpful last time, and we may need their assistance.
We'll interpret that as a motion to have the county pay. Thank you very much. All right, that's the motion and the second. Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Well,
say-
before you vote, just so it's clear, so it's basically the amended and restated employment agreement that you have before you. The difference is it's going to be hourly at 144 an hour. There's no notice required for termination. Do you want to have any type of monthly cap? I mean, he's going to, we might want to use the 13th. Okay.
And if it is, we terminate it.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of all of us for this very fragile time to have the comfort level that we can call anytime.
Correct. And we'll need
I mean, if he
monthly.
works 80 hours next week because we all need handholding, I'm fine with that. That's the motion. I'd like to call the
Right.
motion.
And we'll make it clear that there'll be monthly reporting on what that invoice looks like. We're going to need some approval process. We'll talk about that separately.
But we had drafted that. And
Yes,
the chair, it was going to the chair and the chair was going to review it monthly.
it'll be this body ultimately. Okay, that's the motion and the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, which nays? Member Rydell, member Mateo Bone, member Ryan. Okay, member Bright Cruz, are you nay? Okay, you're a yes, okay. Go ahead, member Bright Cruz.
Chair, I think that it would behoove us, we're always rushing. I think we need to schedule that other meeting that we potentially discussed. I think we have a lot more to understand. Getting their strategy together to go out to the different, understand where we are on that strategy. I think we needed to insert another meeting between now and the following meeting.
Between now and next Friday?
No. I mean, after that.
Oh, okay.
Between that
February
and the
20th
March.
and March. I agree 100%. Oh, that's a great idea. But before we get to that, was there anything else that you wanted to make on your motions? But let's put a pin in that and come back to that.
No comments on this motion, but I think
Okay.
that's it.
All right, with respect to the interim, that there's been a discussion, is there any discussion or motion on that?
Okay. I'm happy to make a motion.
Member Shuham,
Okay. I would like to make a motion that our attorney Cole, with the assistance of member Horland, reach out to the community to find an individual qualified to act as quarterback, for lack of a better term, to work with the Solid Waste Authority in getting us to the necessary approval of the facilities amendment. And that person be retained on a 6-month contract.
okay, there's a motion, and I suspect there'll be some friendly amendments. Is there a second? Is there a second first, member Geller? Hang on. Is there a second? Okay, member Geller, second. All right, then first, I have member Rydell, member Ryan, and member Geller.
I'm sorry, I don't.
So it's a,
I don't think
oh,
you can. You can't.
oh yeah, I need a second from the member. Member to vice chair. All right, member Rydell.
So I guess that you present a really interesting issue because the right person isn't susceptible to, an RFP. The right person isn't susceptible to, the wanted ads. This is going to have to be people proactively engaging people that probably thought they were done in political office. That's the truth. Or somebody that retired and doesn't want to do it and would come back just for care of the community. So I guess if it's Denise, I'm all good with it. Love Denise. She's great. But the reality I have to that is what's the vehicle for other stakeholders to filter potential? So I just want to be clear so we're clear with that. So the vehicle will be to Jamie to send people, hey, contact Mr. Cole if you're interested. Is that we're all?
I can.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I want to hear that answer to what she was saying. I'm not done with you. I'm going
to amend it, but I wanted to hear.
Okay, member Rydell, continue.
That was the question. So
Okay.
you read ahead of the motion.
Yeah. Member Ryan. Process is really the.
Thank you, Chair. That's what I have written down on my piece of paper, the process. That is the most important thing that I'm trying to discuss here with the board. When it comes to who we're going to put in the applicant pool, right? Are we just going to pick a retired city manager, or are we actually going to open it up a little more to other retired elected officials? Obviously, I guess the requirement is we have to be local. Okay, I understand that. But if we narrow it down to just retired city managers, how do we know how long have they been out of the game? When did they retire? Do they want to come back? We need to find willing and able applicants for this. And then once we find the willing and able applicants who want to join, what do? We narrow down a list, right? We start, 10, 12, narrow it down to 3, and then they come before the board and they give us their spiel. And then how do we vote on them becoming the next executive director? Do we all just do ayes and nays? Do we write it down and rank them and choose it? Like we're just putting the cart before the horse here.
We're gonna discuss about
And then we want to discuss the financial aspect of it also. But, first we have to understand our process of how we're going to do this. That's what I want to discuss with the board.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and whether the process can be completed before August. Member Terry Baldwin and then Member Geller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is in regards to now we bring in this interim executive director. Are they going to be paid the same as Mr. Storty? And so Mr. Storty would be a technical consultant still being paid as an executive director. Like, I'm trying to understand the financial piece. I feel like we're paying for 2 executive directors at this point. So let's really have a conversation about our finances here, because I don't think we can do the hourly at 144. This is why I asked that question about what salary looks like, and then pay an interim executive director at the same level as Mr. Storty. That's all for me,
Let's
Mr.
be,
Mayor.
we have to have an executive director. We can't buy the island. We can't go forward at all. It has to be an employee. So let me just say, there's going to be a decision-making process that may very well be whoever, if there's a process to choose, that Mr. Storty's technical expertise is no longer necessary. I think that's where we have to figure out where that float is. We're not going to make that decision today. It's going to have to be a product of this process of who that is. And it may be that it turns out they don't have the technical expertise, right? And then we'll make a decision about where that fits within what we've already budgeted. We're never going to exceed our budget.
I appreciate that. I just
Yeah. But I think to Member Ryan's point, there's a process that has to be defined. The first step is, are we going to do it? That's the first step. Everybody's saying I think that's a consensus. Then the next step is, okay, what does that look like? Because what we can't have is a 3-month process and then a 1-month onboarding, and then we're on vacation for the summer, right? So, Member Geller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would hope that, first of all, I agree with what Commissioner Ryan said. And I would also hope that Commissioner Shuham would agree to amend her motion to include a couple of additional criteria. Number one, that the person that the committee or of 2 people, Jamie and one other person, agree to be suggesting to this group be a Broward County, someone with Broward County experience. And I would personally ask that that include either former city or county employees or city or county former elected officials. I understand what Mayor Ryan says, that we may want to hire somebody that would only be a former city or county administrator, but for the purposes of interviewing people, I think we should cast a broader net and include electeds and city or county administration, but it has to be experience in Broward. And then to further state that whoever that is that will be working with Jamie would bring, pick a number, 3 names, 2 names, 4 names, back to the group to interview and vote on at that meeting, so that this group at least has input as to who is chosen, as opposed to just designating that to Jamie and that one other person. I think there should be more than one person. Commissioner Shuham, use your discretion as to how many finalists you want, 2, 3, 4, I don't care, but it should be more than one. And I would prefer that it meet any of those 3 criteria, which would be city staff, county staff, city or county former elected official. And that's just a request, because I can't make a motion as Jamie.
I know it's not a friendly amendment. Member Horlow.
Thank you, Chair. Respectfully, since I did bring this up earlier and I feel strongly that it should be a city or county manager, I'm not comfortable opening. I understand widening the pool. I'm not comfortable throwing electeds into that. And I think that, again, we're talking about a political landscape and I'm much more comfortable. You spoke, Mr. Chair, about TAC and the language they speak. I think a lot of the elected officials will not be able to speak that same language. So I'd prefer to keep it to city or county managers. And I think to Member Ryan's point, or administrators, have the pool. Again, if it's me or someone else willing to work with Jamie, I've taken the liberty of putting some criteria together that I think perhaps maybe that goes out to the board. We get feedback and then you proceed with whomever it is and bring back, a couple of candidates that we rank. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Member Horl. I agree with your comments. I think it has to be a city or county manager type administrator. I feel strongly enough about that I would vote no against this motion if it was to be expanded beyond.
Okay.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to amend my motion that Member Horland and our board attorney work together to reach out to the community of, I guess, former, because we don't want to steal anybody, for former Broward County or Broward Municipal, let's just say employees. And then you can use your, because I could see really high level public works guy too. And between Member Horland and Attorney Cole, they can come up with reasonable criteria, bring 2 to 3 candidates back to this board with any financial requirements, all details that we would need to make a decision on a contract to get us through approval of the facilities amendment, which I think is 6 months. Is that right?
If I can just add
Yes.
a couple of thoughts. One is.
You can edit.
Right. As far as limiting it to just 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever number, that concerns me a little bit based on sunshine law. I mean, if we're going to be deciding who is, eligible, that's a little bit shortlisting. Probably we shouldn't do that. What I would suggest is we reach out, and anyone who we reach out to who's willing to do it can be presented. And we won't, if someone wants to do it, we would just let them. As far as criteria, for the former city or county managers or senior, very senior staff, I'm not sure we need more criteria. That just limits us. And we could just set a date, and we will work together. We'll reach out. I think everyone should reach out.
My concern
And if
is
anyone else knows anyone, they should come and present them to me so I can talk to them and then we can discuss it. And we'll just, come with whoever we can find. Is if there's 2, if there's 3, if there's 5,
Well-
whatever there is, we'll let this group
I have a
decide.
concern with that because I think that this is a good gig. This is a good and interesting short gig for somebody. And I can see that you're going to come in here with the intent of hiring someone after one meeting and we're going to have 50 people show up. I mean, we can't do that.
If they're former city managers or.
I didn't
No,
say
no.
that. I said city employee, county
Oh.
or city employee. I think Member Horland, with good cause, wants to avoid an appearance of any sort of political favoritism. And so I think that there will be enough people in the pool of former employees that you'll have plenty of people to come to us. But I'm concerned that's going to be too many. And how do we move forward?
I 100% agree. Listen, I don't want a list of 50 people just because they worked in public works. We've expanded it to allow. So I trust, remember, I do think the curative, I don't know that's a sunshine issue, shortlisting. We don't have really a procurement process here. I think there's a level of protection that if we trust Member Horland to start that process to pick the best candidates, and she can choose what those numbers are, but report on how many people put in for it. It could be somebody who just started in public works. Ralph may quit today and try to get the position, right? So I think I have that comfort. I think that's what you're expressing. And the backstop to it is we'll get a report as to everybody who put in. But what we can't have is 50 people coming to the podium. We don't have the
Right.
time. And if it's that uncertain, then we have bigger issues. Bigger issues.
Well, it should at least be department heads or higher. I don't think we want the lowest
I agree, but I don't, I think Member Horland probably knows how to figure that out, right? Somebody who just started in Public Works that they put in, that's fine. Doesn't mean that you need to spend a second interviewing them or really looking at it. I would trust that what we really want, we've said, is really city manager type, but we've been willing to open it up because there might be others who understand both the financial and technical issues with a sense of political experience within the county.
The other thing I want to add to the motion, and I'm seeking your input, is the time constraints. So I know you wanted to say something, but what are your thoughts on the time constraints to do this?
To go out and
No, to bring it back to us.
we have very little time, right? And right, I mean, what I had said earlier, where this is starting to dilute the time and the focus is already what's happening. Yeah, we haven't talked about anything else. And now you're going to try to get a bunch of people. Then they have to learn the plan. Then they have to learn the master plan. They have to get all up to speed on all that. That's a lot. And so I don't think you can just get anybody who's not familiar with what we've been doing for the last couple of years, which is, I think there's a few city managers and I think there's a few electeds that know what's been going on. That you can count them on your hands. Trying to get somebody and bring them up to speed. That's all we'd be doing. So I'm a little concerned on the dilution of focus.
I think we can evaluate that. Remember, right now.
Just quickly, I disagree with you, Carol. I don't think there's going to be 50 people applying.
Okay.
I just don't. I think by us limiting it, we're going to have way too small of a pool. I think you should let I'm not trying to ham for the profession, but should a lawyer be able to apply that fully understands and negotiates contracts on behalf of people? Jamie has probably associates in the firm that are just as equitable. I'm just saying, I think limiting this is dangerous. I'll support what the will wants, but I think limiting this and paring this too much down. And then I think you may have people that are on TAC or listen to the meetings through TAC on various cities that maybe that's the perfect contract for somebody in Coral Springs to say, hey, well, my city manager give me 6 months off to go apply. There's so by us doing this limiting, like this former county or city of, I just don't think we're going to get the right pool. That's it. And I agree. We're 2 hours in with not much else to show for it.
Well, I say we take an effort and we see where we are next Friday. I think it's worth to try to put that work. I know that there are city manager types out there retired who are still paying attention. Some are not in this state or in this county, but I think there are some out there. So I think we ought to give that a shot. And if you come back next week and you've got nobody, or they're all folks who have no experience, then we'll have to reevaluate. And
So is it your expectation that it would be by next Friday?
I would think today we're starting. We don't have time. We can't wait till July to start, interviewing. I know that wasn't your point. I'm just saying to the vice chair's comments, which were really well taken, particularly after we wasted an hour and a half last meeting on something. We have limited bandwidth. We have to stick with what we got to get done. We got to move. We have a member who's volunteered to take on that. And I think all the members here will no doubt be reaching out to people they know and say, are you going to be interested? Because this is what's going to happen. I'll leave it to Member Horland, and
So with your,
and to Mr. Cole is how to navigate that.
with your consent, I would like to ask Member Horland a question, which is, this is falling on you. How would you like to limit or otherwise describe a potential candidate?
I think it would have to be department head and above. And again, I stated that I'm not comfortable expanding it to elected officials. So I think that the consensus here is, former city or county manager. I think you need a C-level suite executive to be able to. Yeah, yes, you do want a time.
I couldn't imagine in a million years a city attorney is going to understand the contracts, yes.
Yeah.
But not the budgetary issues of what their residents are paying.
And the political
franchise fee, what's been paid in the past, recycling.
And respectfully, my friend over there, we don't need another attorney in the room. But so I think that's where I'd be heading, and I'm prepared to get to work if that's.
And with respect to, now that we're talking about a week from now, Attorney Cole did not feel comfortable having the two of you rule out any applicants. To me, if you get someone that has no idea what's happening here, don't bring them back here, right? How do we handle that?
Yeah, I agree.
The only reason I hesitated is there is a delegation concept under the Sunshine Law. If you delegate to a person or group of people the ability to remove people from consideration, there's a Sunshine Law issue. And then if the two of us talk, we'd have to have it sunshine. And by not
I
doing,
hear you.
as long as but we will present everyone. It doesn't mean everyone has to be seriously considered. You can just,
Okay,
Okay,
I hear you.
we
Okay,
we
all right.
can
So I'm going to
present them
amend my
all as they
motion
need.
as follows.
okay.
At our meeting on February 20th, Attorney Cole and Member Horland will bring back a list of applicants that are former Broward County or Broward's municipal city employees at the department director level or higher for us to consider for a 6-month interim executive director position. And any details that we would need to put together a contract for that person.
All right, that's the amended motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second, Vice Chair has comments.
No, I just want to make, I'm gonna make a motion to amend it. Because I do think I think it's a little, I think you're right in terms of needing that kind of expertise. I think there are some people that aren't city managers that might have that expertise. So I'm going to make a motion that, and we'll be able to determine that very quickly. So I'm going to make a motion that it gets expanded to, I just don't want to limit it.
Okay, expand it to what?
I-
Let's just,
well, I-
limited time. Expand it to what?
I just don't want to limit it.
What wording?
What's that?
What is the wording? Open to all?
Everyone? Anyone?
Yeah, I would say mayor and, I mean, elected, I think there are some elected officials that know this stuff pretty well. So I'm gonna expand into that.
It's up to the motion maker to accept that amendment.
I accept the amendment to the motion.
Is there a second on that? Discussion on that item. I will tell you, I will vote against this. I will vote no. Because I believe strongly it has to be someone who is immersed in the finances of this and understands the budgetary issues more than anything else. But all due respect to those who've been involved, and there's lots who've been involved. But I will vote no against this. Thank you. So that's as amended, and a second on that, AJ Ryan.
Just further discussion on this. Okay, I agree with the amendment to expand it. But as Commissioner or Vice Mayor, whatever. Mayor Horland,
President.
as President Horland said, she's not in favor of an elected official, so it's already biased right there off the bat with the selection committee, right?
Oh,
So-
no, she's not a selection committee as we.
Well, like, you know,
My member.
she's the pooling chairperson,
No,
you know.
But she's been told she has to bring everything back, and I
Okay.
trust Member Horley. That's the will on that, then that's the case. But I want to be clear. The reason I'm voting against this interim director motion is because of that expansion. So.
No, just call it, and then we go.
Yeah, my feeling is that if you bring that list back and there's electeds on there and people don't want them on there, they won't vote for them
What's the timeline on this?
next week.
Next
Next
week.
week. Okay, thank you.
Do you have to resign to run?
All right, call the question. And you'll have to do it by roll call.
And this is for the amendment?
Just vote.
Okay, the amendment to add former
Expand.
mayor or,
Yes.
Actually, you already accepted.
Huh? I did. I accepted it. So I think we can vote on the motion.
The whole motion? Yes. Okay, whole motion.
the amended motion.
Yes.
Ryan, Chair Ryan,
No.
Vice Chair Fur,
Yes.
Member Shuham,
Yes.
Member Holland, Member Mateo Bowen, Member Dunn,
Yes.
Member Rydell,
Yes.
Member Mead,
Yes.
Member Caggiano,
Yes.
Member AJ Ryan,
Yes.
Member Newton, Member Murphy Salamone. She was online. She is not now. Okay. Member Bright Cruz.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Okay, anything further on executive director that we need to cover so we can get to some other business? Member Mead, go ahead.
Member Mead.
Sorry, did you vote?
Yes, I voted.
Okay, somebody said I missed.
Okay. All right, the draft facilities amendment review as an update. The TAC was presented this morning. They've been asked to return comments as rapidly as possible to the chair of the TAC so they can provide it to us. As a reminder of the time frame, we scheduled this meeting so that we could have additional review. Are there any additional comments on the facilities amendment for consideration? Member Terrebonne. Sorry, I caught you mid-bite.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to flag to you and the rest of my colleagues that my staff and I were able to review and we provided that information to you all this morning. So I'm looking forward to seeing whether would love to see those edits made to the agreement.
All right, so that raises an excellent point to the extent that comments are provided, Mr. Cole, because of sunshine, there certainly can be unilateral communication, right? That we can receive what those edits are. You'll have to work with the county attorney's office as to first whether they have any exceptions to them, but all comments should be provided to all members of the executive committee. So we have those in hand sufficiently that we can address this on the morning of the 20th or on the 20th prior to the governing board. Is that fair? Okay, Ms. Cole. Okay.
So I have the Coral Springs comments.
Okay, excellent. All right, any further discussion on that? Member Brikers?
Yeah, Chair, just a question, really, and just an honest question. So in the facilities agreement, we spent that other conversation about the 5 years or whatever, but it brings up another thought of should there be a paragraph in there about preparing for the end to do an evaluation maybe 5 years beforehand to dictate that we review at that point, because we all know how long this is going to take if it needs to be, moved forward. And I didn't really see anything in there.
There's an 18 months prior.
18 months prior. There's
Yeah, okay, yeah, there was the 18 months,
analysis.
but is that long enough? Is that long enough?
Good question.
It just,
I don't know that it's a game changer either way. If you want more time, I guess we could put
I would
24
prefer,
months.
let's say 36 months.
Any objection from the county? All right, any amendment to that? Hopefully not.
Start at
Okay, can't-
36 months and be completed at 18 months.
Okay. 36 and 18, got it. So it
I'm
has to
not
be
making
initiated, hang on one second, initiated 36 months, completed by the 18 months.
Perfect.
Okay, that was it. Thank you. Okay, Member Shuham. I knew it was. We're trying to get to we have a limited time. And by the way, the county attorney
Chair,
had
do you
a lot
think that
of
you,
opportunity to speak on this facilities amendment.
So we sent a draft of this to the governing board with the, just that this was something for them to look at before next Friday. But I think that we need to send something to the members of the governing board to have comments submitted to Mr. Cole by Wednesday at the latest, so that he can contemplate them. And is that something that we need a motion for, or when you send it out? Okay, I would just like to make sure the governing board understands. I mean, they still can make any comment they want next week, but that we really need their written response to this no later than Wednesday, close of business on Wednesday. That's it.
Okay. With regard to the governing board meeting next week, I think we need to kind of plan this out a little bit, how this is going to go through, because they're going to be looking at the facilities amendment. They're going to be looking at the master plan. They're going to be wanting to hear the funding. They're going to be wanting to hear all of these things. And I would hate for us to leave here and not be ready. So I want to kind of hear what our thoughts are on the pacing of it, the what comes first, second, third, all those things, so that we get to yes.
All right, to SCS, the plan, the most important thing is where you're going to be on the financial modeling and what discussion you'll be prepared to have more than anything else. I'll do as I normally do, work on the agenda to have that ordering, but where are we going to be on the financial modeling, which is the most critical question?
Yeah, the modeling should be complete by then. We're having a number of alignment conversations. There's one today, there's one early next week. So the modeling should be completed. And we are drafting the summary memo, which is the deliverable that we've committed to, that explains the process, the assumptions, and the results.
Member Caggiano.
Regarding the last item, I had only one question. It was on page 16 of 24. Item 23.2 is reasonable. I always have a problem with the word reasonable. It says, within a reasonable time after receiving such a request. Who decides what is a reasonable time? And, so the word reasonable is. Oh, well, the thing is that, I'm not a lawyer, and what you would consider reasonable time and I consider reasonable time could be vastly different. And that's my only question about this whole thing is I went through it and highlighted and everything. And the reasonable time is the one thing that stuck out to me.
Mr. Cole.
Contracts often have the term reasonable, and it depends on circumstances. And it's usually in a situation where you don't know exactly what the circumstances will be. So sometimes you may need 10 days, sometimes you may need 20 days. So to put a specific time.
Sometimes 30 days or 45?
Yeah, it could be. Listen, under chapter 119 right now, right?
Right.
So
Public
if you ask for a police report, right?
Yeah.
What's reasonable for that is pretty simple. If you ask for an investigative file on a 10-year murder case, it may not be done in 10 days, right? So reasonable is built in there based on the scope of the request. And that's the nature of it. And when one finds it's unreasonable, they know how to make an objection to it.
And in this specific situation, this was inspection rights. And it's providing access within a reasonable period of time.
Correct.
If they just wanted to have one person come and look at one thing, you could do it probably within a day. But let's say they wanted to bring a team of people into a facility that's going to interrupt operations, it might be a week. So when we were trying to come up with the time, we had to maybe put in 10 days or 20 days into the agreement, and it depended on the circumstance. That's why we use reasonable. I don't love it either, by the way. I don't like using that. I'd rather have a time period, but we can't really define the time period because we don't know the circumstance of the inspection.
When I say that, it's like, who's watching the watchman?
It's a good point.
Excellent point. Okay, Member Dunn.
Going back to the financial modeling, so Daniel, I know that for my city, you couldn't really say what the difference is going to be between what the proposed mass price would be versus what we are currently paying, because my staff didn't give you what our current rate is. But I would encourage you, as we prepare that final document, that it'll be important for the electeds to know where they are now and potentially what that cost would be. So if there is a city like mine that you're missing that information, could you just share that with us now so that we can work with our staff to get you that?
Daniel.
So based on feedback from the executive committee and from the governing board, we have focused on a cost per ton that is predicated on the revenue sufficiency. What we have not committed to is conducting an individual rate study for each city. So as we spoke to your administration yesterday, there are assumptions embedded in the development of your annual assessment for solid waste that is distinct and different from every other community. We don't know if there are subsidies through the general fund. Right? There's a lot of detail that we're not privy to. And that's why we've been asked to, and we've provided what is a per ton cost to meet the revenue requirements.
I get that, but my city should be able to say, what's the per ton cost that we're currently paying, right? Correct. So that's what I'm saying, is that it's important and perhaps, I mean, I don't know about anybody else in this table. Like, do you guys know what your per ton cost is now that you're paying, your city's paying? Everybody else knows? Oh, so it's just a Lauderhill thing then. All right.
And that makes it simple. It's only one, but I'm not sure that that's the case.
I'm not sure that you're on an island by yourself on that, but what I would say is that the point is that SCS can't be in the position to deconstruct budgets of every city, right? So just let me finish. The elements of that, right? We know that some cities subsidize out of the general fund. So when you look at the assessment, if you just apply to what you think the assumptions are for how much tonnage there is, it won't be accurate, right? So it's important that city staff, frankly, unpack and fully understand what is it costing. And I'll just kind of come back to this, and it's been a common complaint, I think, from the consultants, and a recommendation you see is that, we treat water as an enterprise, we treat stormwater as an enterprise. municipalities don't traditionally treat trash as an enterprise fund. If it was done that way, there'd be a lot more, it would be a lot simpler to understand it. Because you'd see the budgetary transfers. It may be something moving forward in order to be most transparent, that it probably is going to be kind of a best practice or a recommendation that municipalities develop it as an enterprise fund. And that's going to be, it should be for the long term, right? So that there is trending and it's not subject to the vagaries of an individual commission or city management philosophy that doesn't allow you to understand. Let me just finish with this. This is an existential crisis to us, this problem, because there are going to be those who are going to say, I only pay this because here's what we charge our residents and here's what the tonnage is. Yeah, but you don't know how much did you transfer from the general fund to make that up. This is a crisis for us because they'll say, oh, you're going up so much. Well, actually, if you bring in all the general fund, if you bring in everything and you treat it like an enterprise, I don't know what the number is going to be, but we don't have apples and apples in some cities.
No, I get that. I guess my point is that there are clearly pain points here, right? And we have to be prepared to address the pain point directly, whatever the message needs to be. I know from my city what the pain points are, and they were confirmed from our meeting yesterday. And I suspect that there are other cities, particularly those that are on the higher level of the millage rate, like my city, Lauderdale Lakes, and a couple of others are. Other cities where the political transition may not be as cordial, and other cities and other cities that are under-resourced where residents have other life-defining economic mobility challenges that for them take more priority. Like we have to be prepared on how we're going to handle those questions. And so I think one part is to figure out, for me anyways, what the comparison is, because then maybe what I don't want is I don't want staff to then turn around and say, oh, well, this is what we're paying now for cost per ton. And if we go to this, it's going to be 5 times more. Like I want to be prepared if that's what I'm facing.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And to that, I think, while SCS may not be able to deconstruct each municipal budget, it can tell each municipality what the elements of that enterprise fund are sufficiently so that they know whether they pull that out. There may be those who don't want to for whatever reason, but we need to know what that formulaic process is. And I rely on SCS and to Member Bright Cruz's point earlier about making sure that we have a graphically where we are and getting to the cities, with meeting with them ahead of time, not just at a commission meeting, but with each of the staffs and making sure we have the ambassadors ready to go. Okay, Member Portland.
Very, very quickly. And to that point, Daniel, I just want to make sure going into this, that it is clearly what's enumerated in the master plan will be paid for by the surcharge, that everybody has clarity on that. I think that's really important. And to Commissioner Dunn's point is to encourage your city to do the exercise if they haven't. We just did it in Plantation for the month of December, looking at our residential MSW, our commercial, our bulk, how many tons. And then that $6 is very, it's very desirable when you start to break that down. I mean, for the city of Plantation, that's another $30,000 to $40,000 with the surcharge for that month. So it's important to understand those numbers. So I think just, making sure that we know that what's in that master plan, what's covered by that surcharge.
Yeah. And just to speak to that point, and there's a lot that's recommended in the master plan. We will be clear in what is included in the model. In addition, we're building reserves to provide capacity in the future, right? For example, where we started was including 3 transfer stations in the financial model, and we are no longer doing that. So we're still mindful of it, but it is not embedded in the surcharge today. But over a 20-year planning horizon, we have, and this will be in the memo, it addresses what escalates, what happens at what time, so that there's a better understanding of what are you getting, what's the value, so that everybody can draw a straight line between benefit and cost.
Okay. Member Shuham, we've got 2
minutes. I thought that we had already sent to each of the cities staff like a template, asking each to provide its cost.
We did, not once, not twice.
I know.
Not stop me when, because I could keep going. And we decided that we had to cut bait. We had to work with the information that we have. And really, there's so much work that the consulting team can do,
Okay.
but we're going to hand it off
So-
to each
Okay.
family member.
So my request would be that each of our cities get a template. If they've done it, they've done it, but still, let's get it again so that each city, if they haven't provided it to you, they can at least do it internally and they can see apples to apples. So that's what I would ask because, just at Hollywood, we have bulk, we have yard waste, we have some composting, we have our regular garbage, construction stuff. So
Understood.
so that we are making sure that when we go before each of these commissions, that we're all on the same page. So I'm not talking about how you charge your residents. I'm talking about how much we're spending to dispose of our waste. I think we all just need to make sure it covers everything.
Yeah, I think that's,
Consistent metrics.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Also,
Let me just, on that, even if we do here, it's the governing board that we're worried
Right.
about. That has to be a communication next meeting.
right.
No,
to
I
them.
mean, to every
To them.
city, every
Right,
participating
have
city
one,
has.
have
the
that template ready to go
opportunity.
for them.
Right.
But they've been truncated.
I know. When we're talking costs, I heard you talking today during TAC and you were talking about $10 a household for education. That kind of blows the budget. I think we have to start thinking of, like Palm Beach is doing 4 million. That number goes way over 4 million. So we kind of have to kind of come back to where that is. We can come to it. But more important, we have to be talking about the economies of scale on this day and what that means. You're working in Orlando, showing how the difference in this amount of tonnage and this, and letting everybody know about most favored nation. Not everybody can have most favored nation status. And I don't think, I heard that thrown around a little bit at TAC today. That's not true. One in a county will have most favored nation, like we have at Wheelabrator right now. That's the most favored. And if it ever goes below that, the whole price goes down. So everybody needs to understand that. The other part is letting them know, and I'm not sure how we're directing this, but and this goes back to why we came together in the first place, of having some control over this and having stewardship over the environment and stuff. That needs, I know everybody's going to be talking cost, and I know that's going to be but don't forget to be bringing this up. You saw what happened yesterday. The entire climate change thing got blown out, was on the federal level, was brought to its knees. Almost the entire EPA just abandoned climate change. Well, we can't do, we have to show that it's cities and counties that keep that momentum going until there's another time. That is important. And we're the only ones who can do that. And then what did come up in TAC was it sounded like the cities need to know when they're going to get their assessment. They want it earlier. We don't have to do that today, but instead of giving it to them in September, giving it to them so when the budget comes out as soon as possible, April, May, something like that.
That's the most.
Okay, we're over. So critical comment. Member Bright Cruz.
Chair, I'd just like to see if we can give direction to have a meeting scheduled for March 13th for the executive committee. I think we will need it.
All right, how does everybody look? I won't be here. That's okay, though. You can proceed. So. No, I won't be here. I won't. You'll get a lot more done. Exactly.
So that's from 10 to 12.
It's also the Friday spring break, so we have kids who plan to go somewhere.
Right before.
So let's not stop on looking at that. Maybe shouldn't be that far out. I was going to say March, that first week of March 2nd, 3rd. Second? Second? Do we have the room?
I'll have to check availability.
All right, so we'll schedule for the second at 9 a.m. and it's either going to be here or maybe we use Plantations offered in the past facilities. Yes, Coral Springs is offered. Everybody's offered, but we want the county to pay for it. So 9-8. Oh. 10 a.m. on the second. Okay. Thank you, Member Bright Cruz. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Member Rydell, seconded by Member Mayor Bowen. All in favor, say aye.